GigaBoots Review. Freedom Planet is a high-speed 2D platformer on Steam that's rife with cutscenes. It harkens back to the Sonic-style platformers with its characters, aesthetic, and physics. Unlike those games, it leans towards heavier combat. The main characters for Adventure Mode are Lilac and Carol, both of which have a myriad of attacks, but I'm getting ahead of myself. We need context for these characters, so let's get right to the story. Freedom Planet presumably takes place on a planet called Freedom Planet where a spaceship has just crashed. From it emerges Lord Brevin, who is none too pleased. No! Lilac and Carol are planning another heist when yet another ship crashes into the freedom-filled soils of Freedom Planet, and they investigate because the best thieves are the attention deficit ones.
Huh?
They find themselves tied up in a worldwide war and energy crisis before long and now have to stop Lord Brevin and his evil plans.
Now see, the way I just described that is sufficient enough plot motivation for you to save the day. What's that? A bad guy? Let's kick his ass. Well, the problem is Freedom Planet wants to establish a really fleshed out universe through cutscenes. A lot of cutscenes.
After level 2, there's a giant 13-minute cutscene that covers a ton of inane material. Hey everyone, time to watch the main three characters have a sleepover.
He's probably just scared of getting booties.
Let's learn about how hard it is to wake up Carol. Let's watch the mundane task of meeting up with the military. Let's get more dialogue in here and establish that Torque is uncomfortable flying a plane.
You do know how to fly it.
Of course I do.
The dialogue is really cringe-inducing.
I love sushi! Me too!
Whoa. You both like something? Is this the end of the world?
Who the fuck wrote this shit? Gotta go fast!
It's possible to skip cutscenes by hitting the start button. I was terrified this feature wouldn't make it in. But back to the gameplay. The game is a high-speed platformer like Sonic that has a strong focus on combat. Lilac is capable of a double jump, which doubles as an attack, a dive kick, normal ground attacks, a crouch kick, an uppercut, and a hyper dash that is similar to Rocket Knight's. This focus on combat works out fine for the levels where the game possesses minimal threat to the player, but at bosses, it's a sore point. More on that in a moment. Freedom Planet has two ways to play through the game's levels. Adventure Mode has the story and cutscenes scattered throughout, and Classic isn't terrible. Classic Mode takes you from level to level without any cutscenes, and it's glorious. Oddly though, the third character is only available in Classic Mode, which means no story for Mila. But maybe that's for the best.
Are you a dragon?
Yeah.
Can I touch your hair?
Huh?
Levels are huge compared to your average Sonic game. On your first playthrough, it's likely you'll spend up to 20 minutes in a level. They're not only lengthy, but oftentimes are also very tall, featuring multiple paths. The two main characters have very different mobility powers, so the way you travel through the level with each will differ. Carol can climb walls in a Mega Man X style, and she can pick up a power-up and get a motorcycle, cause why the fuck not? She also has Sonic Adventure 1 style jump pads, which allow her to travel through the areas very differently. Because of the need to cater to both characters' mobility options, the levels end up being designed for everyone and specialized for no one. The levels don't feel like they're tailored for either character. At times it's a synaptic clusterfuck of ledges and platforms. There is a level specific to each character, and those levels feel a bit better designed around the sensibilities of them. I imagine this is why most video games don't offer drastically different mobility options between characters. Each level is separated into two zones, each of which has their own song and different execution on the level's theme. For example, the first half of Fortune Night takes you through the streets of Shangmu, and the second half takes place in a mall. The change of scenery and soundtrack provides a nice sense of progress while maintaining the same theme and enemy types. Unfortunately, the last few levels don't change the scenery much, and the sense of progress stagnates. Levels end with a giant treasure-inspired boss. Whereas the levels are pleasant and lacking real danger, the bosses can be frustrating due to extremely powerful attacks, some of which take off half of your health bar. Lilac's and Carol's attacks are really close range, which is frustrating when combined with the low acceleration, high-speed Sonic physics. I would have preferred the game had more controllability in the character's movement if it was going to have such a strong focus on combat. Playing as Carol, I find that the tougher battles, not shown here because of spoilers, devolve into spamming her Wild Kick, a move that renders her invincible temporarily. It's not a terribly satisfying way to beat a boss, but it works. The cheap boss attacks are easily the largest source of frustration in Freedom Planet outside of the plot.
I love sushi! You like sushi too? No! I was making fun of you! What is your problem?
The highlight of Freedom Planet for me is the soundtrack. It's full of memorable melodies and catchy tunes that will stay stuck in your head long after you've stopped playing. So I can't really express the qualities that I enjoy so much, but you've been listening to it this whole review. You can decide for yourself if you like it as much as I do. I'm really glad the song changes halfway through the levels a la Sonic 3 because that means more music. One of the composers on this game was Woofle, who I've gushed about in the past. She worked on the US soundtrack for Bunny Must Die, which was also great. I'd love to buy the soundtrack for Freedom Planet, so hopefully the developers make that available at some point. In FLAC. Last note on the plot. Though the game has the appearance of a light-hearted adventure and clearly takes itself none too seriously, it gets weirdly dark at times. I'm not a terribly sensitive guy, but when it comes to this sort of thing, even I was like... There's also a heaping dose of glitches and oddities that hopefully the developer can patch out sometime soon. Some of these problems may be shortcomings of the engine Freedom Planet runs on, which is Click Team Fusion 2.5. Another area that needs polish is the third playable character, Mila. She is horribly underpowered in classic mode. By turning the game down to casual, it's feasible to beat it, but the drop in difficulty is so severe that it's virtually impossible to die. It'd be nice to see her rebalanced in normal mode sometime soon. The art in Freedom Planet is inconsistent in quality and style, even on individual characters. I suspect these animations aren't actually done. Outside the main story, there's barely any extra content. There's a target mode similar to the ones in Smash Bros, but since the areas aren't tailored to the abilities of each player like they were in Smash Bros, they're kind of uninspired in design. There's a time trial mode which changes nothing and functions merely as a level select for the levels you've reached in the main mode. This is per character too, so if you've reached level 5 as Lilac, then Carol can't select it. There's an in-game presentation of the achievements and a screen showing all the cards you've collected. The card collection aspect of the game is another that could have used some work. There are 10 cards in each level except for the last 4. They're scattered throughout, incentivizing people to explore every nook and cranny, which is nice, but there's no reward for getting them all, other than achievements. It would have been better if there was something more to this aspect of the game, because it's a good way to encourage people not to zoom through the levels, but oh well, gotta go fast. Freedom Planet is a serviceable platformer. It doesn't exhibit the polish or design finesse of the classic games it emulates, which only serves to cast it in a harsh light. Cheap bosses and a groaner plot do a lot to worsen the experience, but if you're a furry and or really into retro platformers from a nostalgia aspect, then you'll probably really like this game. I personally was frustrated and groaning too much to enjoy it at most times.
What a lovely idea. Oh hey Magister, sorry about ambushing your soldiers and desecrating your temple. Let's go frolicking in the woods together with our makeup and pretty dresses.
A lot of people dismiss this game as a Sonic fan game because it looks so similar to Sonic, but I don't think that's fair. I think they should have to know that the 3 main characters are licensed Sonic OCs, and that Planet Freedom was a place in the Sonic animated movie, and that Lilac was originally a hedgehog before being changed to a dragon to differentiate more. I think they should have to know all of that before they dismiss it as a Sonic fan game. Hey, did you hate that review? Yeah, you did. Then head to the comment section below. Did you not hate that review? Then click on Bunny Must Die or Another World on the left and right to watch 2 other reviews from us, or click the tiny bird or the tiny F to follow us on Twitter and Facebook, or the giant GigaBoots logo at the top to subscribe to us on the YouTubes. Thanks for watching. Fucking diamonds!
One last note on the plot, it shouldn't be called Freedom Planet because you're not freeing a planet and the planet isn't actually called Freedom Planet. It should be called Furry Energy Crisis or Sonic the Hooteg.